Welcome to the channel, everybody. This is V. And on Thursday night, the Explorers League did a little bit of mole mining in Lyria. And I thought that you might just enjoy this footage. We just did about 150 to 200 SCU in about 2 hours. So it was pretty steady. Sandy Claus was out doing a little bird dogging for us, some scouting, and found, nice rocks, 1, 2, 3. The mole we just kind of brought in, broke them up, scooped them, and hauled them back to the refinery and hauled back out to Lyria and, relieve Sandy and let him take off and head to the next one and locate it. So, pretty bang, bang, bang night. And it was a lot of fun. If you don't take some time occasionally to just kind of crew a mole and really just talk through the process, which is kind of unique in mining and Star Citizen. The person who you define as kind of the laser caller, if you will, they are the ones who are going to pick the rocks that the other two lasers generally are going to follow, and you're going to call out your percentages. So for instance, the middle laser may be your caller, and he locates 100% Quantanium rock, and he hits that rock first at 0%, then the other two lasers hit it at 0%, and then he'll let them know if he needs any percentage from them. But generally speaking, it'll create such a wide optimum window when you have 3 lasers hitting the rock that it's almost like having a huge debuff on it. So it makes the mining pretty spectacular, pretty easy. It doesn't necessarily mean that things go perfect. Eventually, when people are very comfortable in their roles, the lasers can kind of work autonomously. But it does take a little while for that to happen. The mole ends up being just a fantastic mining trainer. If you want to teach somebody kind of the basics about mining, and the cool thing is it translates over to prospecting simple as pie. They're basically the same UI. So if you bring somebody on the mole and you get them down in a laser, and there's a little bit to it. You don't want anybody, for instance, when you first get into the mole, no one can get into the port or starboard laser till you lift off and get out of the hangar. And so then once you kind of got people in seats, you want to make sure people are seated when you quantum, for instance. So there's a little bit of kind of a dance with it, that you learn as a mole captain, kind of how to get people seated, get people unseated. Certainly when you come back in to the refinery, you have to kind of get people up out of those port. After you go into quantum, you go into second quantum, and after you come out of second quantum and you're approaching the station, you have people leave the port and starboard lasers, so your landing gear can hit the ground. Because as you can see there, the laser hangs below how low the landing gear goes, so you can't actually land in the hangar when people are in the port and starboard laser. The center laser's okay as long as they're not looking down, but the port of the starboard laser they definitely have to get out of. So it's just there's lots of little tips and tricks you kind of learn as you do some mole piloting, and it's a good thing to know. So kind of excited about the new mining ship that's coming out. At some point it's going to be bigger than this mole. So I would imagine in the neighborhood. If for some reason the Orion has 7 mining stations, and the mole has kind of 3 mining stations, but and a captain, so you have a crew of 4. You'd imagine you'd have a crew of 8. So I bet you it's going to be around a 5 laser, and maybe it's just a 3 laser, just with maybe size 3 lasers or something along those lines. But I would imagine it might be like a 4 laser or a 5 laser rig. And that'll be very interesting. It looks like the last time I checked, the RSI mining ship was in the lead there. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to look at kind of some external views of what it's like when you're mole mining. Of course, as the captain here, my primary job is to make sure that the mole is in good position, that all the lasers can get on it, and that actually usually falls to the laser caller as well. They're usually going to be most articulate about positioning. They're going to say, can you move forward? Can you move back? Can you move port? Can you move starboard? Can you move up and down? Once you've done, and it probably isn't a bad idea to do a certain amount of solo mining with a mole, in the sense that when you run down and jump in that center laser, you really do at that point have a pretty good, a reasonable understanding of how to position the mole. So I'm usually, now that I've flown tons and tons and tons of hours in the mole captain seat, I'm usually pretty good about positioning, but once in a blue moon, it surprises me where someone says, hey, you're a little too far forward, or you need to back up some, or that type of thing. And positioning is everything when it comes to, proper mole, making sure that all of your lasers can efficiently hit it, and that there's no struggle to get the lasers on the different parts. And one of the big tips or tricks that I'll tell you is when you are scooping, you will want to go ahead and approach the piles from one side, but then completely pivot around and we'll do a 180 on them, and make sure that you when you scoop, that you kind of approach the rocks from different angles, because there are lots of times that purples are tucked in or tucked under on the other side, and you'll miss them. So I've certainly learned that you do keep an eye on your timer, but you definitely do want to kind of reposition yourself and make sure when you're doing the scooping part of things that you are kind of approaching the rock piles from different angles, so your pilots, your mining laser operators have an opportunity to look at the piles from as many different angles as possible to do scooping. So here we finished a scoop, and you can see I'm going to punch through the cloud cover here on Lyria, and then punch it, and we're going to head back to Argo 1. And so you can see we're approaching the cloud cover here, and as soon as we break through the cloud cover, punch it at that moment, and off we go. We're in quantum on the way back to Argo 1, and as we approach the station, you can see you try and be at a reasonable clip. By this time, I have already dropped my gear and my VTOL. It is absolutely critical that you have your VTOL dropped before you go into the hangar with the mole. If you do not have that, you will belly flop. And it will cause the Quantanium to go unstable more than likely, and you'll lose the entire load that you brought in. So, yep, this is this is us. You can see Tron had joined us that night. Shout out to Tron. How are you, sir? Hope that you're doing well. And he was, just kind of flying his blue. We basically were on our way back out to do another run, where Tron was already over at Sandy, was going to kind of fly some Overwatch for us. And yeah, you can see here, we're approaching, first alarm kind of just went on there, which gets a little scary. And, we would bring her in, and I just like to show you the landing part of it here. You can actually land this guy pretty smooth if you take your time, and it's important to do. So make sure your VTOLs are on, make sure your gear's down, and down you go. So this is us returning to Lyria, and something was weird. Something was sideways. I couldn't get the mole to respond at all. I was like, what is going on? And, sure enough, we were falling out of the sky, and I couldn't figure out why, and I was scrambling, but then we 30K'd, and there you go. So anyways, hope you're having a great day. Take care of yourself. I'll see you all around the verse.